Hi everyone, Mr. Cohen here. I'm going to try to take you through the finer points of the assignments for week 11, and my computer has this tendency to shut down the video before I'm done, so I'll try to be quick without skipping important stuff. So the essential question, which some of you have probably already done, what does texture add to a piece of music? How can you describe the sound of musical texture? I think these are deep and important questions, and the introduction right here gets you to it. So I'm not going to read it to you, but please read this. It's important stuff. Just as the intro, take a moment to imagine how a piece for solo cello might sound, like a Bach cello suite maybe. Now imagine a piece for 4 full-size orchestras, SATB chorus, and military artillery. How might that piece sound? So you can see that they're setting you up for some heavy thinking about texture. It's all about texture, so please have a look at that and really never skip it. That's good stuff. As we move along, we didn't move along. I thought I could arrow through. I have to touch it. Build Your Knowledge is reading Chapter 7 of Benward, and there's a little bit from Ottman. We're reviewing the Ottman, and then the guide to texture as well. And take a look at all this stuff. I want you to look into here. These are all excellent. We just don't have the time to go through it, but that's your job to please read those. It's for your benefit, not mine. Moving along. The warm-up, it's a typical quiz. So there you go. These types of questions, just like you've been doing, you all seem very good at it. This previous week that we just finished, people were writing at the last minute saying, hey, there's no quiz for me. And then another quiz showed up at like 11 p.m. No one expects anyone to answer a quiz that shows up at 11 p.m. on the last night, but please get your quizzes in on time, and there's 15 of you, so there's almost enough for everybody. And then go ahead and ask me. I obliged. I wrote a quiz and accommodated people. Listen and sing is sight singing. Do your teoria. You're all very good at that. At least at following directions, right? I like that. Create and compose I'm going to get into because there's only one piece on note flight, and we got to talk about that. The other one, 7.1, is in the quizzes area. Know what I'm talking about? Of course you do. You take a quiz every week. So you go up there to quizzes and you'll see that one there. And that's kind of a big one, but it says right here, you have as many attempts as you need to get this right. And believe me, I've done this one. It takes a little bit. So they're really testing what you know about from the reading. So we're going to pay special attention to the reading. Moving along. Reflection. Please pay attention to the prompts. I wouldn't change my thoughts at all is not a reflection. How do you feel about your first response? That's part of it. Is your response different now? If so, what revised your response? What did you discover this week that changed or reinforced? I didn't change a thing. Well, what reinforced? What is there in the material that reinforced what you already thought? Please pay attention to that. And then we move along to AP practice exams. Okay, like the other ones, it's all listening or multiple choice. Actually, it's multiple choice no matter what you do. But sometimes it's listening, and you really have to know the material, because they say by listening to this and by looking at this tiny little score, what do you see? So it's going to matter. Please take note of that. Okay. Texture and textural reduction. So here's all your topics. Notice all these abbreviations here. They're going to come into play on note flight right away. And in fact, they come into play on the quizzes as well. So you're going to have to know these things. Here, I'm not going to read the whole chapter for you, but I'm going to take you through some stuff. I know you're all going to ask each other, how do you define texture? What is density, right? That stuff's going to be in there. Range, it's all part of it. If my computer went any faster, we already know that it doesn't, right? Texture types. Okay, this is big. Although density and range are usually described in relative terms, the description of texture type is much more precise. A number of texture types occur from time to time, but the most common are these four we're going to do. So monophonic texture, right here, sequence from Dies Irae. It's a single line. A cello suite. Bach cello suite would be, or any solo instrument with no accompaniment, monophonic texture. It can sometimes be doubled in octaves or other intervals. So the Washington Post March, bum ba dum ba dum ba dum ba da. Everybody's playing the same thing on the introduction there. Monophonic. The whole piece isn't monophonic, mind you. Here's a monophonic in which there's chords, but everybody is changing at the same time. Monophonic. Then we get to polyphonic. Textures consist of two or more lines moving independently or in imitation with each other. So here we have two independent lines, right? They work together, but they are just two lines. So take a look. Bach invention. I'm not saying Bach inventions are coming up later, but it's a great example of polyphonic texture. If you know it, go ahead and to YouTube and look them up if you don't already know the Bach inventions. Here's one that is this typical Bach invention. It's imitation. So it starts off there, it goes into there. Pay attention to polyphonic sound. Then homophonic texture. The most common, got that? The most common texture in Western music is homophonic, which is made up of a melody and accompaniment. So if you're playing a solo for your instrument or voice with a piano player, that's a homophonic texture. You have your solo line, you have your accompaniment, and it can look like lots of different things. That's just one example. And it says, please move down, please move down. The rhythmic and harmonic supporting functions may be combined in the same material or separate parts. Rhythmic and harmonic support. These are going to come up later, right, when they get into specifics about texture. Rhythmic and harmonic support. All right. We get into, that's a big example. Get a load of that, baby. You've got your melody, your harmonic support, because it's just chords in pretty much blocks on half notes. Harmonic and rhythmic support. I just said that like 3 times now, right? So you have a rhythmic pattern with chordal structure, harmonic and rhythmic support. That's going to come up a lot. Homorhythmic texture, also known as, if I can get it down here, hymn, oh, there it is, hymn style. So if you're a singer, it looks like a hymn, like in your church hymnal if you have one of those, right? Homorhythmic texture, everybody moving pretty much together. You know that it doesn't have to be literally together. Similar rhythmic material, doesn't have to be literal, but similar. This texture is often the hymn style, chordal, homophony, chordal texture. So we see a little less of that one. There's some history you'll want to read. Actually, there's some very good history in there. Then we get into the analysis. Primary melodies, PM. That's going to happen a lot in your note flight assignments. Primary melodies, because it's the melody. And then somewhere else, there's supporting material, most likely. So your primary melody is the melody. Easy enough? Good. Lots of examples here to pay attention to. Secondary melody. So like naturally it's Bach here, right? You have your primary melody, and then there's another line. It might be like a counter melody. We're not going to be calling it that yet because this is the early stages of music theory. But when there's a second melody, you got your primary melody and your secondary melody. SM. That one will come up. Okay? Parallel supporting melody. Your primary melody, and then all these other lines that they're harmonic, right? But they work together. It's a parallel supporting melody. PSM, sorry. Not sure we see as much of that. Static support. So SS. Either sustained tones or chords, which are often pedal tones, or repeated melodic and rhythmic figures, or ostinati. That, I guarantee you, will come up in note flight. Static support could look like this. It could be if you had a melodic line and there was just like one note that doesn't fit over and over again. That was an example there, was not. If there's one note that repeatedly doesn't fit the chord, but it's the same note, it's probably a static support. Harmonic and rhythmic support, HRS. We see this a lot. So what that, it's like a piano accompaniment. You've got rhythm and you've got harmony. Harmonic and rhythmic support, you're going to see that a lot. Examples, then we get to textural reduction, which we also do on the note flight assignment. What you're doing is taking the line, it's usually arpeggiated like that, and you put it into chords, and then the reduction includes how long the chord lasts. So this chord is a whole note. This chord is a whole note, right? You don't see any whole notes up here, but that's what the chord didn't change until here. And the chord didn't change all the way through there. Then you can give it an analysis. I don't think we asked you to do the analysis in this week's note flight. You can break it down further. If you're just figuring it out, just put the rhythm for when the chords change there, the chord changes there, chord changes there and doesn't change again. And then after that, you go back and write in what the chords are over the rhythm you already put in, if that helps you. And I hope it helps you. Then there's all kinds of good stuff you can read in there. Please read it. Don't skip anything. The assignment itself. Remember, one of the assignments is going to be in quizzes. This is the actual note flight assignment. Write harmonic reductions. Ta-da! Include the following. Color any non-harmonic tones. Don't label them. Just color them. That's all. Please use one color. That'll be good. I use red, so you should use anything other than red. Rewrite the chords on the blank staff provided using the rhythmic values of the harmonic rhythm. So that's what I just described for textural reduction. You're writing the chords. And they change, you guys. Sometimes they don't, but oftentimes they do. Then you're going to label the type of texture. And here's all those labels from the book. You're going to want to have your book page open so you can go back and forth like that for what these actually mean. Okay, so here you have, I can tell at a glance that this is two different chords, but a whole quarter note's worth of one chord, which they already spelled out for you. Then it's going to be different. So down here, you're going to want to put in the next chord. There might be, hint, hint, non-harmonic tones in there too. So write down what the chord is, and please spell it out in inversion or in root position as it is, and use all the chord tones available. Right? There's number 1, there's number 2. They start getting a little bit complex. Number 3, don't forget to label. There's going to be a melody and a something else right there. This is probably some kind of a support, right? Are you tracking with me on this? That's a longer one there. It's only 5 measures, but it looks longer. Take me down to number 5. It didn't take me to number 5. What is going on? I know. I started changing some things. I'll have to not save that. Please come back down. Go to number 5. Looks like there's going to be some non-harmonic tones happening there. There's 2 different lines. How are you going to refer to them? One is probably a primary melody. What could the other one be? In fact, you guys, there's always a primary melody, okay? There's always a primary melody. Then you have to decide what to call the other things. There are 8 of them. Everything is chordal, even if it's just arpeggiated. Quit moving. Quit moving. If you have some repeated notes that show up, remember they could be static support, okay? Repeated notes that don't fit the chord could be static support, so watch for that as well. That's the gist of it, you guys. I hope it's helpful for you. Please ask me questions, ask each other questions, and ask questions of your teachers at school, because they know all this stuff too, and they're probably happy to dig back into it to help you out. Okay, I'm going to close out now. I'll see you on the other side. Good luck.